Amy Minsky should be described as a beautiful woman who loves watching the Marx Brothers show, wearing the same shirt for days, and never leaving the house. But that won't be fair to the heartbroken Amy, who is going through a divorce from David, her husband, who is an entertainment lawyer. To make things worse, Amy knows David is having an affair with a lady at work who had joined him before to organize a surprise party for her. Now, she has to live with that, and the fact that she didn't request any alimony at all makes her mother, Ruth, upset. The fact that Amy doesn't have a reputable degree and didn't complete school because she didn't finish her thesis makes Ruth more upset. But Stan seems to be understanding of his daughter. Ruth is the amazing mom who holds everything together, and she advises Amy to take antidepressants or go for yoga training, so she stops staying in the house forever doing nothing. And now, Stan Minsky, Amy's father, who is a lawyer planning to retire, is expecting some life-defining clients soon. He hopes to get the contract so that he can retire successfully, keep their house that is currently undergoing renovation, and go gallivanting the globe with his Ruth, who wants to travel the world. Amy leaves the house for the first time in a while to see her brother Noah Minsky, his wife Missy, and their daughter, whom Ruth is quite fond of. Noah is a little bit of that elder brother who is annoying, and he talks about how Amy used to entertain guests for all of David's clients, and shouldn't be told she should dress properly for the upcoming dinner. The next morning, Amy decides to get a new shirt and heads to a store where she meets Karen, an old school acquaintance who was a co-captain of a sporting club. Karen, who is heavily pregnant, does not immediately recognize Amy because apparently, Amy was plus-sized back then. Karen talks about how kids have changed her life and asks if Amy is married or has any kids, and Amy replies that she is divorced and has no kids. Since some of the alumni from the school meet at a club, Karen invites Amy to join them, an offer Amy won't be taking up anytime soon. Later, Amy borrows one of her sister-in-law Missy's gowns to prepare for the dinner with the clients, which would be held at her parents' house. The day for the dinner is here, and the two families sit together around a table. Stan, Ruth, Noah, Missy, and Amy form the Minsky family, while the clients, Larry, Glenn, and 19-year-old Jeremy, form the Hammer family. Larry is Jeremy's stepfather. The Minskys don't want anything to go wrong because they need to impress the Hammers and get the contract. Glenn Hammer is quite the chatterbox compared to her son Jeremy, who seems uncomfortable. The talk eventually leads to Amy's degree in literature and the fact that Jeremy was into acting literature plays. It is all talk with Glenn until she talks about the fact that she quit acting when she divorced Jeremy's dad, and this makes Amy sad, so she excuses herself from the table. She gets to a room undergoing renovation and can hear Glenn apologizing when Ruth tells her Amy is divorced. Suddenly, Jeremy walks into the same room, which is a little dark, and compliments Amy's dress even though he didn't expect to see her there. They share a kiss that doesn't last for long because Glenn walks in looking for Jeremy, but Amy hides quickly. The next morning, Ruth informs Amy that Glenn had called to ask if Amy can show Jeremy around town, and she agrees. It is a little bit awkward at first when Jeremy gets into the car, but they eventually talk a lot about Amy's marriage, divorce, and photography skills. He asks Amy to take him to the beach. Unfortunately, it is raining when they get there, so they are stuck in the car together. Things get intimate again, and Amy and Jeremy have sex. As Amy drops him off, Jeremy asks to see her again, but Amy declines and calls the entire thing that has happened between them crazy. The next morning, Ruth says that Glenn told her Jeremy had a good time, and that he is actually gay, which is quite funny to Amy, so she asks him about it when next they meet. He claims it's actually a misconception his mom has due to a play he acted, and since she is always so accepting of everything, he just let her believe he is gay. Just like that, Amy and Jeremy start sneaking out to see each other. The first night the sneaking out started, Amy lied to Ruth that she wants to pick her antidepressants to avoid being questioned when the gate sensors beeped as she goes and comes. Then the next night, and the next night, and the next, Amy and Jeremy keep seeing each other secretly. One particular night, as they smoke far away from home, Jeremy confesses that he hates acting and doesn't want to feature in an upcoming play his mother raves about, so she encourages him not to. And nowadays, Amy is more cheerful and playful and even has a certain glow about her face that Missy, Noah's wife, calls sexy. Missy and Noah ask her if she is seeing anyone, which she denies, so they try to hook her up with Phil Bauer, a guy in Noah's baseball leagues who is an investment banker and is also divorced with a kid. But Amy keeps seeing Jeremy secretly, and he shares about his dream of being a writer instead while she shows him photos she took when she was still into photography. One night, as Amy and Jeremy swim naked in the pool at the Hammer's house and talk about running away, Glenn Hammer walks in on them. She had arrived earlier than expected from a meeting for some reason. Amy is ashamed and drives home cursing all the way. She meets Stan, her dad, in the sitting room, and he talks about how he really needs to get the client with the hammers so they don't lose their home and he can retire successfully. Frustrated, she calls David sobbing, but nothing much comes out of the call. Then, Jeremy comes to meet her outside the house. Instead of explaining to Glenn, he just ran away, which makes Amy frustrated. She asks Jeremy, who wants to tell Glenn the truth, to say something else or tell lie or whatever, and things get tense between them. Amy states that they are not in a relationship and can never be in a relationship. This hurts Jeremy, who states that Amy only does whatever her parents want and leaves. It's morning again and Amy finally decides to go on a date with Phil when Ruth talks about it during workout. Unfortunately, the date is absolutely terrible for her because Phil keeps talking alone. He talks about fish, his love for fish, and the oceans, and when the date is over, he kisses Amy without her permission, which makes it worse for Amy. So she heads to the Hammers' house to look for Jeremy, but meets Glenn, who talks about how she is unhappy, that she knows nothing about her own son even though she is a therapist. Apparently, Jeremy had lied about the swimming incident being a therapy for Amy, who was sad and divorced, and Glenn, who is so accepting, is okay with it. Amy then tries to look for Jeremy, but he is nowhere to be found, and this frustrates her. Finally, she accepts Kren's invitation to meet at the club with other alumni of the school. She gets really drunk and Karen has to drive her home. In the car, she talks about the fact that she keeps messing things up for everyone who loves her, and Karen encourages her by saying that if people love, they just love. As Amy tries to make her way into the house still a little drunk, she hits a vase of her mum and it shatters. Ruth comes running down the stairs angry, and this leads her to say a lot of things she kept inside. She talks about how Amy kept quitting on things in her life from a young age and that's why she never finished school, and indirectly blames Amy for the fact that David wants a divorce. Amy fires back by saying that Ruth has never had an interest in anything that concerns her, but Ruth disputes that by claiming that no one in the family is even interested in her as a mom, even though she keeps the family together. She claims that she just wants to have time away from Stan, but Amy keeps on disrupting her plans. Stan, being the ever-encouraging dad, meets Amy that evening to encourage her. But, it seems Ruth's talk got to Amy because she meets up with David to find out what really happened between them. David says that he didn't like who he thought he would be if he was still married to her, and although he broke up with the lady at work, he at first thought that dating someone of his status and the same profession would be better for him. Unfortunately, things didn't turn out that way. Amy surprises David when she thanks him for breaking up with her. She says she would have never been able to do it herself, and being with him had made her feel less of herself. Then before she leaves, she states that she will change the divorce papers and ask for alimony because she had invested her time in him. When she gets home, she meets a happy mom and dad because the Hammers had given the clients to Stan. They organize a party to celebrate and Jeremy shows up with his parents. When he spots Amy, he walks away, but Amy follows him. Jeremy apologizes for coming, stating that he didn't expect her to attend, but Amy thanks him because he taught her how to be loved by a man. He says he knows they cannot be together, but he is in love with her. Amy also states that she loves him and they begin to get intimate with each other again. Unfortunately, the Hammers and Minskys walk in on them having sex and are all embarrassed. The next day, Amy packs up her things to stay in a sublet for about 2 months, but her father doesn't seem to want to have a conversation with her when she tells him. When she goes to meet her mom, she is surprised to find out that her father has not retired even though they still have clients. Stan never planned on retiring, and this hurts Ruth so badly that she sobs her heart out as Amy comforts her. Then, Amy goes to meet Jeremy to say goodbye. He will be going to college while she will be going with Ruth in Stan's stead to gallivant the globe. Jeremy hopes to see her again and they hug each other before Amy leaves. Thanks for watching. Check out this movie here. And don't forget to subscribe and to turn on the notification bell.